Well, this I always love to talk to Melinda Ellsworth. She's Director of Donor Services at Science Care, but because we have fun. Yes, this is about people who've died, and what do you do with your body? But listen, if you can't have fun with this, why bother? It's not a matter of not feeling sad that someone's passed away, but then what do you do with the remains? That's the big subject. A lot of people never get to think about it. They just assume something's going to happen from out of the magic or the sky, but it's not. You have to do something about it. So thank you, Melinda, for coming on the show again, and we're going to keep beating people over the head until they realize what we're talking about here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love talking to you.
I do also, and Science Care is so important to us and our family, but especially now to a lot of our listeners and our readers. So something that came up when you and I were talking before is, all right, this is October, and we know that it's Cancer Awareness Month. So what does that mean to you at Science Care?
Well, it's really important for the medical research organizations, the doctors, the physicians that need to train on surgical techniques around this disease. Donors are actively helping to participate in training surgeons on how to perform lumpectomies, on how to perform mastectomies, and also earlier this year we had clients that were working with breast cancer tissue to develop new techniques in order to reduce the spread of cancer after lumpectomies. So this work is very important. This is a great time of year to talk about this and how whole body donors are really helping to impact the treatment options and the efficacy of those treatment options in patients today and in the future. So thank you very much for talking about that. October is a very important month in healthcare, not just for whole body donors, but in general. All of you women out there, make sure that you do your self-exams every month and make sure that you are getting a mammogram as prescribed by your doctor. It's very, very important.
Well, I'm glad you talked about that because one of the articles coming into our October issue is from I guess it's an energy therapist, and she's let's see what she does. She has a lot of healing techniques that she does for people, and I know her personally, and she has a PhD in, I think, speech pathology, and she's just absolutely a wonderful woman. And the title of her article is "Hug Your Breasts." You know, let them know,
great.
Let them know that you love them. And it's a beautiful article. It talks all about what the breasts are from your heart, and it really is great. I know when you get the October issue coming up, you'll appreciate it. So, yes, we have a lot of people. Thank goodness, women of today are certainly helping to make everyone aware of checking your breasts, or if something does happen, what you have to do about it. And in fact, I don't know if everyone's going to the extreme as Angelina Jolie did, but, for people who have it in their genes, I think they just like to think that they don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, and, I know that is a drastic solution. And so one of the important ways that we can help to improve options for patients is to do the research, is to do the training of surgeons on the newest techniques, the newest procedures in order to prevent the spread of cancerous tumors. So whole body donors, as we're talking about today with Science Care, are helping in that fight to improve those patient outcomes, to improve treatment options for people so we don't necessarily in the future have to go to such drastic measures. But I really wanted to talk today about this specific disease because it's so important, it's so topical, and people sometimes don't even understand what whole body donation is or how you can donate your body to medical science, let alone how important it is to real everyday problems and patients and outcomes. So thank you so much again for having us on.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're doing this. So what is it that they learn? They have a body there, and then they actually get the technique to know how to do these incisions, or what is it that they do?
Sure. Yeah, any type of surgery is traumatic and does have risk. And so with the training of the surgeons to perform lumpectomies and mastectomies, this these procedures obviously have risk and create trauma in the tissue surrounding in the patient. So the more that the physicians can practice their technique, they can work with less invasive procedures, less invasive surgical instrumentation, and they can reduce the amount of trauma to the surrounding tissue, reduce pain to the patient after the procedure, and improve outcomes for the patients, have less risk for infection, less risk for secondary issues post-procedure. So this, regarding breast cancer awareness, but with any surgery, any training of surgeons that work with cadaveric tissue through whole body donors, through science care, it's very important that this type of hands-on surgical training occurs because they do have to go work on real patients tomorrow, and we want them to be able to improve those outcomes with every single patient. And you want to feel confident as a patient that when you are having a procedure done, that your specific physician has been thoroughly trained with cadaveric tissue and feels confident and has the expertise to be able to perform that with low risk and low trauma.
Oh, absolutely. See, we don't think about that, what it is. And do you have anybody in your family or in your associates there that have had any of these things happen to them?
Yeah, you know what? We actually, in our science care family, we've had at least one employee that I'm aware of that's had a breast cancer situation. She recovered fully and is living healthy and cancer-free at this time.
Oh, wow.
So we're very, very happy with that. But this stuff hits home for everybody. I mean, think about your own life. You probably know people yourself who have been impacted by breast cancer.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's very serious. And anything we can do to help further the awareness and the cause for women to be aware of the potential risks and to take care of themselves, we're all for that. And the fact that we can actually say that our donors are participating in the fight to reduce the risk to patients, we love to be able to share that story.
Yeah, that's true. And that's really what I guess this whole movement started, I don't know, was it 25 years ago when some women died and their families or friends got together and they named this, and then everything became pink, and then, they had days like in the month of October and what they should be doing. And I just read something today, as a matter of fact, in I think the New York Times, that there's a new drug now that they're for breast cancer they're finding working very, very well with another particular drug. So I don't have the name of that, but I think there are great strides happening here. And, of course, getting back to why Melinda and I really are even talking about this is because when you donate your body to science care, they make sure that those bodies are put to very good use. They go to medical schools. They go to research. There's all sorts of things that happen. And just think that even when you've passed away or your family members passed away, that so much good has come from that death. That's the way I look at it. Absolutely.
And whenever donors come through our program at Science Care, we want to do a couple of things. Number one, our goal is to honor the intent of the donor or the donor's family, whoever is making the decision to donate. We want to make sure that we're placing that donor and the tissues of that donor with as many potential research and training projects as possible. Because one human being donating their body is such a tremendous and personal gift. It is our goal to make sure that we really honor that and that their gift is meaningful. And we can do that in this way by trying to not only place with perhaps training surgeons on how to perform breast surgery, but maybe perhaps training surgeons on how to perform a full hip replacement or doing research on Alzheimer's, all kinds of things that our whole body donors are being able to help advance medical science for patients today, not only in the future, but patients today. That's really critical to understand. It's not just, this concept of research taking years and years and years to develop cures and treatments, but it's also the hands-on surgical training of physicians and surgeons every day so that they can be more effective and bring better outcomes to their patients.
Yeah, I love your enthusiasm and what your organization does. And I think people have heard you before, and they know that this is really national. I mean, if someone is a member of Science Care, no matter where they are, and they're called, you will make sure that something happens?
Sure. We are a nationwide program, which means we can accept donors from nearly every state. We cannot from Minnesota and New Jersey. They have their own state laws that prohibit the movement of the bodies out of state, so we can't work there. But every other state, whether a person is pre-registered with Science Care or not, if you just call at the time of passing, then we can facilitate donation. And regarding acceptance, it's a beautiful program because nearly everyone will qualify. The main rule-outs are simply contagious disease, such as HIV or hepatitis B or C, or extreme obesity. Other than that, most every single person will qualify for this program, and they can help to lead the way in improving outcomes for real patients.
Excellent. You are, I know that you've been with them for a long time, but we talked about, why someone want to come to work with Science Care. Let's just picture that you have a vacancy for somebody and you sit down and you talk to them. Do you have pictures or slides, or how do you get somebody to know? Because if maybe it's a blind ad and they say, well, what do you do? I mean, it's a little hard to describe this.
Sure, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I do have an opening in Miami-Dade.
Oh, do you? Oh, well, talk to us about it.
I do. I am either looking for part-time or even full-time people who want to get out there and talk about Science Care and whole body donation with the community, specifically with the senior community, boomer community, with health organizations, things like that. But yeah, when I sit down and talk to an applicant, it's really an easy conversation. I say, look, we're the link between all of the people out there who want to make a difference in the world through medical research and training by leaving their body, and those medical researchers, clients, educators, physicians who need human tissue to do their good work. That's it. And so what we need someone actually in Miami-Dade to do is get out there and talk to people and to understand that there are 3 options, not just 2, but 3 options when it comes to end of life, and it's not just cremation and burial. If anyone is considering cremation, we strongly want them to consider whole body donation because cremation is included in that at no cost, and you can do so much good through the giving of your body to science.
That's true. They do. And so I guess what we have to do is try to find someone for you. So I'm glad you mentioned this. You never know who's listening, and maybe what we should do, and it's a little late now, I don't have the room. I was thinking, if you don't find anybody in our November issue, maybe we can save a space above your ad just for maybe 2 lines. And we can do that. We'll try to remember that. If you get someone, then we won't do that.
Absolutely. That sounds good. Yeah, and we're looking not necessarily for a specific type of person. We're actually interested in perhaps someone who's even retired who wants to, have that second career of making a difference, of getting out there and talking to peers about something that's good and worthwhile. I'd really love to talk to someone who loves talking to people and just wants to get out there and beat the street, if you will, and talk to people about Science Care and whole body donation and all the good it does in South Florida and beyond.
Yeah, I think that it's a good thing you mentioned this, and now we'll see. I'll mention it to Leonie also and see if we have any connections down there for someone who wants that. Where do you advertise something like this?
We're on the normal online job posting boards like jobbing.com, Career Builder, things like that. I
see. Well, it looks like it's pretty good. So, okay, well, we'll do what we can, because I would think that would be a great job for somebody. Especially somebody who's not been in this field. They could then understand something very, very new. And I don't mean it's new for you, but it's new for them. This is something that most people don't talk about. But I just can't see anymore dying, going into a crypt or going into somewhere and not having something. I mean, it's just, in fact, I was thinking about, do you remember just recently they think they found the remains of King Richard? Did you read that?
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
No. They thought they found him something, and they thought that some of the things they said about his, that he was an invalid or that he was stooped over or something, I forget. about that. But it was very interesting, and that here he was, and there had been a building that was built over him. I mean,
That's amazing.
It is. So that's not a very good thing.
Well, and what people don't realize is that even when you do donate through Science Care for medical research, right, that you still can have cremated remains returned to the family in 3 to 5 weeks. So the tissues that are not utilized for medical research and training are then sent to cremation, returned to the family in 3 to 5 weeks, and all of this, like I said, is at no cost to the family. The cremation, the return of remains, filing of the death certificate. So it can be such a beautiful gift, not only for the donor, honoring the donor's memory, but also for the family, being able to reduce a little bit of that stress and financial burden at the time of passing. A lot of people are really looking for practical ways that they can improve the lives of their loved ones when they pass and improve the lives of so many others, potentially millions of people, and worldwide. This isn't just medical research and training strictly in South Florida, for example, but medical research for clients that are domestic and international all over the globe. And so it's a huge, huge impact to the world.
That's a good point. I think I get so enthused with Science Care, I forget to say that it's not the most important thing, but it's pretty important that no money passes. It's free. You just donate your body, and you don't have to pay all those expenses. Could be up to $5,000, $10,000 by the time you're shipping people off to foreign lands, wherever you're shipping them. This is free. They come and take the body. You make the one phone call, and it's over. You can then get along with having your memory celebration or whatever you're going to do. You have to help me, Melinda, and remind me to keep saying that.
And you made a good point just then, too, that even with body donation, we also recognize how important it is that the family does go through the natural grieving process, have a celebration of life, have a memorial service, and those kinds of things can still happen, and they can happen immediately at the time of passing with or without those cremated remains on hand. So, that is important, and we can help to refer that local family to a local funeral home or organization to help put together a celebration of the life of the donor, if you will. So that entire process can still go forward even with body donation. And another important thing regarding vets, our veterans are so important to us, and 1 out of 3 Science Care donors are veterans. And it's very important for folks to understand that the body donation process can beautifully augment the honors and benefits of the veteran. So the normal death benefits and honors to veterans can still happen. Remains can still be interred in a national cemetery. Veterans honors can still be given. But you can combine that with whole body donation, leave this lasting legacy of hope for future generations, and take advantage of that no-cost, free cremation and return of cremated remains to the family. So it's just such a wonderful option for so many people, and I really appreciate you giving us the time to be able to talk to your listeners about it, because so many do not even know that it exists and that it's so easy to take part in.
Well, you sure do it. You tell everybody exactly the way it is, and we're so happy that you are on and can do it. And yes, I'm glad you brought up the veterans, because I didn't realize of all the people that you have such a high percentage of veterans.
I know, it's amazing. I have a theory about that. This is just my own theory, but think about it. Veterans have given of themselves nearly their entire life for service to our country. They are servants. And so wouldn't it make sense that they would want to naturally end their life in this final act of service to humanity? It just seems to fit so beautifully. And we really thank our veterans for giving of their entire body to Science Care, to advance medicine, to improve patient outcomes. It's just one more way that they're able to give back to society, and we thank them for that.
I know this is probably a little weird. I'm weird about all this because it's
Go for it.
I am. I'm going. So when you take the body, is it put in a refrigerated storage? What happens?
Sure. It's important that the first call at the time of passing be to science care so we can work quickly. Because, yes, we need to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the tissue throughout the donation process until tissue procurement occurs, so that tissue can go out to medical research clients in good shape so that they can learn from it or utilize it to train surgeons in the most effective way. So what we do is we take, once we give acceptance to that potential donor, then we're going to work quickly with a local transport company or funeral home to move that body from the location of passing into proper storage, and that does include cool storage. We have paperwork to process, consent forms to get a return back from the family, and things like that. While that's happening, we're taking good care of the donor to make sure that we can really honor the intent of that donor.
Yeah, so people, I guess people have been where a loved one dies, they're in the room, someone passes away, and, they may cry, and then people say, okay, well, why don't you leave, and we'll get, the funeral director, whatever, to come, and they don't think much more about this. I mean, next thing they know, they're at the funeral home, and either it's an open casket or it's not or something. They have to bring clothing for the person to be dressed in if it's an open casket, and someone then does, I guess the funeral director fixes the hair and the face, and you just don't have to have any of that now. It's over. Right.
Yeah, and it's, for some people, this is not for everyone. We understand that, and that is perfectly fine and acceptable. But for those who are considering cremation, it is important that you just consider this concept of whole body donation with cremation, because it's easy, it's quick. You can use that time then to go be with your family, begin that important grieving process. Perhaps you do want to put together a memorial service, so you can work with your family on that. In the background, Science Care is taking care of all of the details of the transport of the donor, the care of the donor, procurement of tissue for facilitating the whole body donation, the cremation, the return of cremated remains. We handle all of those details. And we stay in contact with the loved ones throughout the process so they know what's happening. They know the stages in the process. They can get all of their questions and concerns answered. We help to give them information and resources to help them through some of the details that go along with someone's passing. How to file with Social Security or how to find grief resources local to them, things like that. We can help with those kinds of things.
Yeah, that was my next question. That was my next question. So let's say they need death certificates. You will handle all that?
Yes, it's our responsibility to ensure that the death certificate is filed appropriately and quickly with the county, and we will educate the family on how and when they can go to the county and purchase those death certificates for themselves. Okay. A lot of people have questions about that. How many do I need? What do I need them for? And we can help talk them through that and get those things taken care of.
Yep, that's so great. I guess the only person I saw pass away, I'm thinking about that. Well, there are two things. Well, really, I saw my mother pass away, and she was at hospice, and then the next thing I saw was she was in a casket, and I saw my father pass away, and that was another time, and then the next time, I think it was closed, but we got to just kiss him goodbye, but I don't want to do that anymore. I think that is so. I know people are listening to me, and then someone might get upset with me, but I really can't help that. It's my opinion. I think it's just old-fashioned, and for me, I don't know. I just think that we need to get on and do something that's really good for that person. We have memorial services, and that's good for the family, but if we now donate the body, then we know that they are living on, and they're living on in a doctor's brain or whatever happens. What happens after the cadaver is there and it's been used? It's not used again, is it? Is it over?
No. In most cases, what happens is the tissue is procured right away at the time that we receive the donor into our care, and those tissues go quickly out to client use, and that tissue then, once that use is complete, it is disposed of locally And it's typically small specimen types, so it can be disposed of in any way that is illegal in those areas. It could be through a medical waste disposal company. It could be through cremation, but it is local typically to where the research was happening. So the cremated remains that are returned to families are those tissues that were not utilized for research, just to clarify.
Yeah. Okay.
And you made a good statement there about hospice. You said your mom was on hospice?
Yes, as my father.
And your father. Your father. So, yeah, there are a lot of people today taking advantage of hospice, which is such a beautiful gift for end-of-life patients. And I just want your listeners to be aware that we do have a special program for hospice patients.
Oh, really?
Which allows, it's called the HOPE program. And this is where we can do the phone call to science care, the pre-screening, give the guaranteed acceptance prior to passing, and do all of the work up front. And then you can focus on being with your loved one and not worrying about arrangements until those final hours and moments. And then at the time of passing, that phone call to science care is very short. It's 5-10 minutes, and everything is taken care of at that point. So it's a beautiful program for those on hospice.
Oh, yes, it is. And hospice is really coming into its own. So many people now wind up with their family members in hospice. And hospice can happen at your home. It can happen in a nursing home. It can happen in a hospital. And then there are hospices really where you can go. It's like a hospital, but it's a hospice hospital. And I've seen it happen in all three. In fact, I'll just share this with you. I remember there's a hospice here. It's very beautiful. And the man that they had, one of their patients was, they must have really, I don't know how long they had him there, but he had one last wish. And he wanted to see his horse, whom he loved so much. And don't think they didn't bring the horse to hospice.
Oh, that's so nice.
Really? That was a big thing. It's a big hospice, and they did trot that horse in there so he could see his horse. Anyway, with that, I guess maybe that's the end of this story, but thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again. And I'll be thinking about who you're going to hire.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, Melinda.
Bye-bye.